All right, it's time to put away the games for a second. It's business time. We're going to talk about financials today. Get excited. Nintendo just had their earnings call for the past quarter, and there are some big numbers with the Switch 2, which I would really like to discuss today, because I think it's really important in the world of online discourse and grift culture and a lot of online negativity that goes on these days, especially when it comes to gaming. When you look at the hard numbers of things, there is a really big disconnect on what's said online as opposed to what's actually happening in the real world. So I would like to go through all of the numbers today and just discuss how good the Switch 2 is actually selling, as well as like the games that are being sold as well. The Switch 2 worldwide is at 10.36 million units. In the first 4 months, America's at 3.68 million, Europe's at 2.4 million, Japan is at 2.35 million, but remember that in Japan, the Switch 2 is constantly sold out, and so there are constraints there. And then other regions, 1.93 million, like Australia. That's where I'm from. Just for some context, it took the original Switch 9 months to reach that number of 10.36 million units. So it's basically doubling it. There were 20 million software titles sold as well, so I'm guessing that's for like Switch 2 editions of games like Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, Cyberpunk, and then Switch 1 versions. Put them in their own pile. The Switch 1 is almost the best-selling Nintendo console of all time at 154.01 million units, right under the DS of 154.02 million units. But remember, this forecast ended in September, and so from September till now, which is early November, it probably has passed the mark. So congratulations in lieu of when it eventually happens, Nintendo Switch. You did it. Nintendo have now upped their forecast of selling 15 million units of Switch 2 to 19 million units of Switch 2 by the end of March 2026. So they've basically seen everything and said, hey, actually, now we're going to sell a lot more. Donkey Kong Bonanza has sold 3.49 million copies, which that's pretty good. Since coming out in July, I think that's pretty decent numbers. That's roughly a 30% attach rate, so that's not bad for a not Mario game. But you also need to remember that Nintendo titles are normally evergreen titles. So sure, it sold 3.5 million in 3 months, which is still great, by the way. This is going to be selling for the next 5 to 10 years. Like Mario Odyssey continues to sell to this day. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we're going to get to that in a minute, but that continues to sell to this day. And especially when you add in like the other things that Nintendo are doing, like Donkey Kong theme park attractions. Apparently there's a Donkey Kong movie coming out in the next couple of years as well. That's just going to continue to boost the sales of Donkey Kong Bonanza. Very excited to see where that goes over the next 4 or 5 years as well. Mario Kart World is actually insane, and it has sold 9.57 million copies. That is a 92% attach rate. It would be really interesting to see the divide between how many are actually from the bundle and how many are actually physical sales, especially when it's got an $80 price tag. Hi, mr-agame here. As I was editing, I saw online that 8.1 million of the 9.57 were from the Mario Kart World bundle. That also means almost 1.5 million people bought the game for $80. Good to know. I guess we'll see over the next quarter's earning call how those sales and the attach rates change, because the bundle is now no longer available. Now it's the Pokemon bundle. That will be really interesting to see if people genuinely really want to play Mario Kart, or if they're just buying it because it's part of a bundle. And we can't forget Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which also sold an additional 1.37 million this quarter alone, and is sitting at 69.56 million copies. It's crazy. It's important to note that because this is from July to September, we don't have games like Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 and Pokemon Legends ZA, although they did announce that Pokemon Legends ZA sold like 5.6 million copies in like 4 days, which is a pretty good number. I think it's really cool looking at these numbers purely just because these are hard facts. These are actual numbers from Nintendo themselves. They're not made up by some random YouTuber who you've never heard of saying that Nintendo is doomed and that they're a soulless company trying to steal your money. I feel like it's really important to look at these, especially on the internet now, where there is a lot of misinformation going on out there. There is a lot of negativity because, let's be honest, controversies get clicks online. Whereas you can take a look at these numbers here and realize that the Switch 2 is doing just fine. Mario Kart World is doing just fine. Do you remember like a month after the game release, people were complaining that lobbies were empty, but in reality, it's got a 92% attach rate and it's sold 9.57 million copies. What we can't see though is how many people are continuing to play Mario Kart to this day. That is an important thing to add. We can't just continuously see the numbers and praise it completely. You do need to look at everything logically and kind of make an assessment on whether you think the game is doing well or not. And I personally think it is. I remember when there were all those videos saying that the Mario Kart lobbies were empty, when from my point of view, in Australia at least, the lobbies were fine. I even did a 2-hour stream where I would enter a lobby, do a race, and then leave the lobby so that way I could get it as scientifically accurate as possible. And over that 2 hours and 14 races, the lowest number I had in a lobby was 17. You joined. Oh, wow. Oh. And people fall for the misinformation. That's just my experience though. It could be completely different for, let's say, America, who isn't super close to Japan in terms of time zones. And then we got to remember that online matchmaking is not just a simple connect online and race. There are so many variables going on. So my experience in Australia can be completely different to someone in Europe or America. It would be really cool to have that data, but we don't. But I do believe as YouTube creators, we should be accountable to our audience and making sure that what we're saying is true. And that includes making sure that every aspect of what you're saying is correct and not just assuming straight from the outset. As someone who predominantly plays video games and doesn't really talk about them much, I see these numbers and I think that this is good. Most of the audience for video games are not terminally online like you and me. As a creator, I'm often doom scrolling on Twitter or on YouTube, and so I see a lot of the negativity, whereas like the everyday family picking up a Switch 2 for the first time, they really probably don't care. Little Timmy's not gonna be too phased whether Mario Kart has regular 3-lap tracks or not. A lot of that kind of discourse is often from a smaller minority. The average family out there doesn't really care if Pokemon Legends ZA is enabling the Pokemon company to keep making mediocre products. They just see a Pokemon game and say, hey, that looks fun, I want to play it. But because we're on the internet where negativity and sensationalism sells, those voices are often really amplified as opposed to what is actually going on in reality. Now, does this also mean that we just blindly accept everything Nintendo gives us? Absolutely not. Like, Pokemon Legends ZA looks a little bit funky, doesn't it? But I still believe it's a fun game to play. Is Mario Kart World a perfect game? No, absolutely not. But you can still find really good enjoyment out of it. I've played it for like 140 hours and I don't intend to stop anytime soon. A lot of people might see this and be like, oh, you're just a shill for Nintendo. But like, video games are supposed to be fun. I didn't know that enjoying a video game makes you a shill for a company. Like, isn't that the point of a game, to buy it and enjoy it? This whole stigma on the internet that we either have to love something blindly or completely despise it is just getting exhausted now. Like, I'm sure there is a nice middle ground that we can discuss as adults. Can't we? Oh, you're probably just gonna label me a shill because I said something nice about Nintendo. What are you gonna do? Anyway, thanks so much for watching. This was really cool just to go through all of the numbers and see that, hey, Nintendo Switch 2 is really doing good. If you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe if you're new, and hype the video if you can. That'll help it get seen by more audiences. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to bring your A game.